Put the floor machine down and work 20 square feet for 30 seconds per square foot. That translates to 10 minutes for 20 square feet. Moving the machine slowly from side to side and moving the machine forward and backwards to create a crosshatch pattern on the floor. It's important to keep the floor wet at all times. We don't want the floor to dry back. This will cause unnecessary wearing of the scratch removal disc or any abrasive that we're using in the low-speed method. Incidentally, these are the same procedures that you would use for a heavily damaged floor with the 60 grit or the 120 grit or the 220 grit, keeping the floor wet, moving the machine in a crosshatch pattern. So it's important just to spend the same amount of time in this frame of 20 square feet with all of the steps. Whether you're running one machine or two machines, if you do things based on time versus passes, you'll get consistent results. After we've run the machine in the 20 square foot area for the appropriate amount of time, we wet vac the slurry off the floor. Oftentimes, if we get some dry back, we'll flood the floor with water and make a few more passes before we stop the machine to wet vac. It's important to get this slurry off the floor completely because when we move to the polishing step, we need to have the larger grit from this slurry out of the way so it doesn't impede our polishing. So we flood the floor with water using a damp mop or simply pour water on the floor, move it around with the machine, and then wet vac one last time. Of course, rinsing is aided by the use of Aperon's neutral stone cleaner. The surfactants will help carry the abrasive up into suspension so it comes into the wet vac more readily. Now that the honing is complete and the floor is scratch-free, we can move on to the polishing step. Using the Aperon Dye Poly Pad, this is our final polish pad, or the FP pad, in combination with our marble wet polishing powder, because we treat terrazzo just like we treat marble. We put down 1 ounce of powder and 4 ounces of cool water to polish 20 square feet of stone. Notice we put the powder down in a circular form, matching the size, closely the size of our polishing pad. We quickly cover the floor, our working area of 20 square feet, to get the entire area wet. Then we can slow the machine down and make smooth, consistent passes over the entire working area. So we've got two things working for us right now. We've got the diamond abrasive that's in the FP final polish pad, which there are 1 million of microscopic diamond chips in this pad that are very refined at a high level, in combination with the abrasive in the polishing powder. We're basically abrading or rubbing the stones smoother and smoother. You see here the new pad and the terrazzo absorbed a little bit of the water from our original 4 ounce application, so we add a little bit more water just to keep the surface wet during that 30 seconds per square foot or 10 minutes on our 20 square feet that we're working. We continue to talk about 30 seconds per square foot. This is how we want you to do the demonstration with the customer. Reality is when they start the project, they may be able to experiment and cut that time back even to 15 seconds a square foot. After we've worked the floor for a sufficient amount of time, we simply flood the area with water and make a couple more passes. The purpose of this, similar to our wet vacuuming of the slurry with SRDs, is just to loosen up our slurry, make it as liquid as possible to aid in the efficiency or effectiveness of our wet vac procedure. So now we're going to wet vac the slurry up and reveal the gloss that we've created with our scratch removal discs honing and the wet polishing powder with the FP pad in polishing. The wet